Hi again, friends. This video is for the viewers who asked me to do a video on scarves. There are so many scarves out there, and there are so many scarves that sell, especially on eBay. I don't really know about Poshmark. I don't think I've ever listed a scarf on Poshmark, actually. But I know the category is overwhelming, and technically I'm not an expert, but I have sold quite a few, and I've learned a lot through the years: what sells, what doesn't, what to look for, the mistakes I've made when I've bought them. So hopefully this video will help you. And I did make some notes, but just in case I forgot something or I missed what you are wondering about, feel free to ask your question in the comment and hopefully I can help. Hopefully what I'm going to share will help you to make some good sales on scarves. So you just walked into a house with a laundry basket full of scarves. Where do you begin? The first thing I do is I check the overall condition of the scarves. Were they taken care of? If they're in a laundry basket, they still might be okay, but if they are a jumbled mess with what looks to be permanent wrinkles, that they've been not stored properly for years, or if they smell like mothballs or perfume, or they're just very clearly dirty, I will probably move on. However, I will take a preliminary look just to check if there's a super valuable scarf in there, because I would probably try and clean it if that were the case. You might want to wait on that till you get to know a lot more about scarves and how to even clean them before you get into the weeds like that. But don't initially write all the scarves off just because they appear to be not very easily sold. And the second thing would be, in case you are seeing cheaper scarves at first, you might want to dig just a little. They might have gotten a couple very expensive ones as gifts. You just don't know. So take a good look. Don't spend too much time on it, but you never know, because I have found very valuable scarves mixed in with scarves that were not so great. So that would be the first thing that I would look at. Second of all is the two of the attributes you are definitely going to look for initially would be 100% silk and hand-rolled edges. 100% silk, you will probably get to know just by touch what silk feels like, but the label is also going to tell you. Now, if the label has been removed, if you can't find a label, I will probably pass on the scarf, because most scarf collectors want the original labels. So I would probably move on if the label had been cut or if it's no longer missing. If it's hanging by thread, I have sewn them back on where they have become loosened before, so that would be one you'd want to salvage. Second of all, with the edges, you need to get to know what a hand-rolled edge looks like. That is the preferred edge for the top collectors of scarves. And all it means is that it's been done by hand. And you can see this has not been done by a machine. A machine, it would be hard to do on silk, but it's a hand-rolled edge, hand-stitched. Here is a machine stitch. This is called serging, but a machine has edged this one, so it's not going to be a very elite scarf because it's been done by a machine. Nice hand-rolled edge. The stitches are pretty hard to notice. You'll see them, but they're more hidden. Now, I know I already spoke about the initial condition you find the scarves in. Ideally, they are hanging, they don't have permanent wrinkles in them, but if they do and they are fold marks, that is how the scarves were originally bought. They were folded, generally in a box. Even the very, very high-end scarves like Chanel, they will be folded in a box. So those folds are very acceptable. In fact, that's how I store them, that's how I send them, and that you are good to go. As far as perfumes and mothballs. I think I referred to you might want to learn how to wash them, but that's probably down the road. I would not recommend buying scarves that have really strong scents like that. I would move on, or at least disclose that in your listing. And someone still might want to buy it, but I generally move on. All right, also, I have learned that square scarves sell much more often than oblong, the long rectangles. But keep in mind, if it is a really exceptional scarf or if it's a high-end designer, that probably won't hurt you, but overall you want to be buying squares. You also need to be looking for scarves that have the designer's name all the way through. And then this one, you'll see the name is in the silk. This one, name is in the silk. That is going to be a good scarf, and all the high-end scarves are like that. Some of them are even like watermarks where they're kind of faded into the design, like Versace did that in his scarves. So you want to look for the names that are actually in the design. Yes, the high-end designers are the holy grail of scarves. So if you find Chanel or the high-end Balenciaga, all those scarves, those are going to be fantastic sellers. But the lower-end designers, even the retro designers like Halston, Vera, and by the way, Vera is not Vera Bradley. Vera scarves are actually Vera Newman, and I'll put a graphic up on the screen, but Vera scarves are even more desirable if it has the little bug in the fabric. So I'll show you a graphic of that. Vera scarves are very collectible, but keep in mind that the designs that sell the best are going to be retro designs, bold designs, amazing colors, animals, people, logos. Here is a scarf that I bought as a lot, and this is just, it's okay. I mean, it's kind of an animal print. The colors are really nice, but there's nothing really unique or special about it. I might sell this as a lot down the road, and that's the nice thing about scarves. If you buy a lot of them, let's say, a big group of them, down the road, you can always try selling them as a lot. You'll have a better chance of selling them. So don't rule them out if you have to buy a lot, a whole group of them. If there's some really good ones in there, you should probably go for buying them. This one I'm really surprised has not sold yet because it is vintage, and you can see the colors and the design are amazing, and it will sell. This one might just take a little more time. Dogs and animals sell really well, as I said. Made in Japan is definitely a retro label fact of information that is going to help it sell. If it says made in Japan, made in Italy, those two manufacturers are definite bestsellers, and especially if they're retro. So 100% silk, made in Japan, made in Italy, you are well on your way to a sale. As far as the designs though, you need to, I'll also put up some images of amazing designs. You'll get to know better designs that are really bold and mod or retro. People just, collectors, as I said, they are just a phenomenon that I've never met a collector, but I've sold to repeat buyers that they collect beautiful scarves. They are always looking for the unique, the unusual. So the more amazing design, the better. What's interesting is early on, before I knew a lot about scarves, I bought what I thought was a Chanel scarf. It's before I really knew and understood all the attributes of an authentic scarf. And it was such a rookie error because the edges were not hand stitched, and it was clearly machine stitched, but it was so beautiful and amazing that I still sold it for $100, and I'm so surprised that someone bought it. I did disclose that it wasn't authentic once I realized my mistake. But again, beautiful designs are what sells scarves. And if you really get stuck with scarves, like I said, you can sell them as a group because people love to get a good deal on scarves and maybe buy 4 or 5 at a time. So you can always do that as an option as well. Now, the last thing is probably the most important thing to consider when you're buying scarves. And I didn't do this for a long time, only to get home and discover like the tiniest little mark on a scarf. But the easiest way to check what you're buying and make sure you're not making a mistake is to hold the scarf up in front of a window. You would be shocked what you can see. It will show you probably any defect or mark. It's not foolproof, but overall, if you hold it up in front of a window, you will see every little imperfection. Now, if it's silk, silk does have little imperfections in the weave, but that's not a oh, I can't think of the name. That is not a defect. That is just the nature of silk. But you will see any little stain. Generally, like I said before, I won't deal with washing and steaming scarves. So if I find something before I leave, I'm probably going to put that scarf back. As far as if you find a little hole, nobody wants a scarf with even a tiny hole. So if you find even the tiniest little hole, you will want to move on and probably not buy that scarf. I almost forgot to mention that when you are listing scarves, I recommend that you would put them in plastic sleeves while you're storing them, and definitely ship them in a plastic sleeve. Don't just put them in a bubble shipper. I do usually ship them in a bubble shipper, but seal them in a plastic sleeve of some kind, because if there were to be a small tear that happened in the bubble shipper, every scarf buyer wants them protected even from water because they don't want water stains. So be careful when shipping them. Thank you so much for watching, and if this helped you, please give it a like, a thumbs up, and subscribe if you aren't already. I love to do these kinds of videos and share what I've learned, and I will see you next time.